Hi. All right, I'm with.
Can we start again? Because I was going to
It's rolling, man.
I mean, it's gonna. This is gonna be added to it, Andy. This is.
bloopers and outtakes.
Have you not seen me and Ougarts?
No.
It's one big blooper.
Okay, I'm going to watch it when we get
I mean,
back.
it is really one big blooper. All right, I'm here with Andy Mumford, good friend of ours, good client of ours. Landscape photographer, probably one of the best teachers in composition, light. So from what I've seen on Andy's YouTube, really insightful, brilliant ways of teaching light, editing, photography, planning, all of that. So welcome, Andy. Welcome on the hot seat.
Thank you. That's an introduction that I don't know how to live up to, but I'm going to try.
Perfect. So Andy, first of all, tell us where you are.
Right now, we are about 200 miles away from anyone in the Skeleton Coast in the dunes of Namibia. It is amazing here, just absolutely stunning from a landscape photography point of view.
Brilliant.
Brilliant.
So we actually came from further south, where we had clear skies this morning and yesterday. Today is not the same. So today is a bit different. We're here with a group of 10 photographers. 10 aspiring young and old photographers, hobbyists, and I think they're all taking a rest. Are they resting? No, none of them are.
No, none of them.
They're all sitting in the tent, talking, not sleeping.
Whatever.
So yes, we are at the Shawnee shipwreck, as you can see behind us, and we are hoping that later today we'll have some light, some sun. But we don't need it because this morning was amazing. We had some dappled light, just incredible light this morning.
This morning was so good. It's like everything now is just a bonus because this was one of those mornings that you know you'll remember for a long, long time. It's
Yes.
really special.
No, it was incredible. Okay, I've got a list of questions here that I wrote. Okay, so Andy, tell us, how did you first get interested in photography and what motivated you to pursue it as a career?
I mean, I think for a lot of nature photographers, nature is the gateway.
Yes.
It was always that more than photography. So I used to do a lot of hiking, a lot of camping. Just loved being in beautiful places, but never really photography was just something. It was like snaps and stuff like that of the
Yes.
family. But then as I got older, I started to see really, really good landscape photographs and think, how are they doing that? You know, what's that? Because they were getting images of places that I had no idea how you could do that. I was seeing similar places, but my photos didn't look anything like that. So I just kind of got interested in learning through. I learned online and just wanted to make myself better at taking images of the places that I was really enjoying visiting. So that was pretty much the gateway into landscape photography. And then professionally, things just happened very, very slowly through people seeing my work, asking if they could do an afternoon workshop with me, writing the occasional article for magazine, and it just kind of grew out of that.
Okay. And what were you doing before you were taking landscape photos?
I was an English teacher.
English teacher.
Yeah, it's a natural career trajectory from English teaching
Yeah. If
into.
you start there, you got to end. Yeah.
Most people do.
It makes sense. Could you share some insights into your preferred photography genres and your favorite subjects?
Well, I mean, I love landscape and nature photography. For me, you can't separate photography from the experience. So I've never really been drawn to things like studio photography or portrait because it has to be, it's having the experience and then trying to capture that. So fundamentally, because I like nature, it's primarily about nature photography. But I enjoy traveling, and I've generally enjoy doing sort of environmental portraiture, photographing the people that I see and stuff like that. But primarily, landscapes. Yeah, and the experience of being in landscapes. And in terms of subjects, I think that there are places that touch you deeply. I think that as human beings, we spend so much of humanity has spent so much of its existence living very close to nature. It's only very recently, in you know, on a time scale, that we've lived in cities and communities and things like that. But there's a part of us, I believe, that still feels fundamentally at home in wild places. It's why we like forests. It's why we like parks and go to beaches to see sunsets. That's something that's almost innate in humanity, I think. So it's, in terms of subjects, it's looking for those places. And for me, the wilder the place, the more remote. So places like this, where fundamentally this 10,000 years ago, it wouldn't look much different to how it looked now. And in 10,000 years, it's probably going to look very similar. Those are the places where you get that raw experience of nature. So this, mountains, rainforests, where you can like lose yourself in the place. So that's what, those are the places that attract me.
Yeah, well then you're at the right place for sure. All right. What role does post-processing play in your photography workflow? And how do you balance enhancing the image while maintaining the authenticity?
I think it plays a big role in any photographer's work. Even if you're just doing minimal processing, no one is shooting, no one is showing their images straight out of the camera, with the possible exception of people who are doing photojournalism. Pretty much everyone is doing some form of tweak, shooting raw and doing some form of tweak to contrast. Even if you're just making adjustments to try to make the raw file look how the scene looks, because the raw file isn't going to record what you saw. So I think it plays a large part in most people's images. For me, it's always been about, I think you go to places and they make you feel a particular way. Yeah. So what I'm trying to capture is the mood that I felt at the scene. So I don't want to change that. I don't want to make it different. But of course, when you're editing, memory is there's a degree of your memory of the place, and that you're interpreting the place through memory, which is not memory isn't kind of a trustworthy or accurate way of how the scene was.
Yes.
So that's always going to affect how you process images. But I don't like to significantly change the scene. I like to, I do want to capture pretty much what was there, so that anyone who sees that place will recognize it if they were there, or that anyone who, like, there's lots of people with us at the moment on this workshop, and anyone who's on this workshop who sees the image, thinks that yes, that's what it looked like. It's an authentic representation. But the word authenticity, I think, is doing a lot of lifting in that question, because some people's authentic experience is different to another.
Of course. Can you share a memorable photographic experience, something that impacted your life as a photographer?
I have to say this place, but I'm not just going to say this place, but I'll start by saying Namibia, because this was the place when I first started learning about photography. I bought a lot of books, and I remember seeing a photograph from Namibia, and it just fired my imagination, just to learn about this place and to eventually go there. So I first came here last year, and it was, it had been for me 16 years in the, at the top of the bucket list. So finally coming here was really quite moving. And I remember last year when we were here on the Skeleton Coast, feeling really, really emotional about actually being here and having this experience, not just from the photography point of view, but just from the experience of being here in this place.
Yeah, the part it played in your photographic journey, yeah.
Apart from that, to name somewhere else, I think the first time I went to the Amazon, I went there on my honeymoon. And that was the first place that I'd ever been to that was completely wild. I was born in the UK, and I've lived all my life in Europe. And Europe, it's, there are many great things about Europe, but what it doesn't have is wilderness. There's very little wilderness left in Europe. So there are beautiful landscapes, but most of those landscapes, places like the Dolomites, places like Scotland, there's a lot of human, they've been inhabited by humans for thousands of years, so you'll see walls and you'll see buildings and you'll see well-maintained trails and things like that. So the Amazon was the first place that I went to that was just pure wilderness, where you really feel that you're disconnected from a lot of the aspects of humanity, and that kind of fired me to find and see more of those places.
Interesting. All right, so what tips would you give to young aspiring photographers? Doesn't need to be young, but what would you give to what tips would you give to a photographer to kind of find their own type or style of photography, or to find the real meaning behind why you take photos?
I think the fundamental thing that everyone starts taking photographs because they enjoy it. And I think that's the most important thing, is that you have to shoot images that you like. You have to shoot things that, you have to go to places that inspire you. So you have to be inspired by it. You have to basically enjoy the photographs that you're taking. So that's the primary thing. Then just in a more technical, from a more technical point of view, learn about composition. And composition doesn't just come from photography. People have been painting landscapes for hundreds of years.
Yes.
There's a whole world that you can learn from the way that a landscape painter will use light, will use composition and line. I love looking, for example, at those Japanese watercolors.
Oh yes.
That you see, where there's just they'll have a few brush strokes for the mountains, very simple colors, some very simple brush strokes for trees, and they're very minimal. And I really like that idea, and it's something you can't always take photographs like that. It really depends on conditions, but I'm really attracted to making images that look like that. So I think I learned that approach from looking at those kind of paintings.
Yes.
Simplicity, harmony, balance, and just practice. Just learn. Go out and shoot. You learn by doing. Fundamentally, you learn from failing. And I also think that the most important thing is to come to terms with the fact that you will probably always be a little bit frustrated with your work, because there'll always be a part of you that thinks that you're leaving a scene that knowing that, could I have done it better? Asking yourself, could I have shot this better? And it's that questioning that will push you forward to learn more and to get better. So I think you've always got to be enjoying what you do, but asking yourself questions, if that makes sense.
Makes sense. It makes sense. Okay, the last question for you, and then I'll ask some.
Oh, we're getting the quickfire round.
Then it'll be just out of the top of my mind. What's next? What is on the horizon for you in not only photography, but we know you live in Portugal, in Lisbon. And what's next? What's next for Andy Mumford?
I think fundamentally what I've learned from photography is that everyone has an innate sense of adventure. People want adventure. People, they might not know that they want it, and they might be a little bit afraid of it, and they might think, I don't know if I can handle that. But I think most people want to do something that is a little bit outside of their everyday experience. So I'm looking at doing, trying to organize more trips that bring people to that point where they're seeing things that push them a little bit outside of their usual comfort zone, where by the end of the trip you go home with great images, but you feel that you've genuinely had an experience that's enriched your life that you're never going to forget. So it's looking for those kind of things, those kind of destinations. I don't know. I'm always excited by new things, by new places. By planning. I think when you do this, as because you do the same thing. When you have an idea and you start to plan it and you start to have all these ideas, it's incredibly exciting. And I think we're very fortunate, because when you do that, what you're doing is essentially you're dreaming. And we're very, very in a very fortunate position, because you've got, okay, this is a dream and there's a potential here to make this true. Yes. And I think that's a wonderful thing. And it's just, so the future is trying to embrace that. What are the things that make me excited, that inspire my dreams, and let's see how we can make that happen.
That's exciting. That's exciting. Okay, Andy, thank you very much for spending time with me here on the Skeleton Coast.
A pleasure. I mean, this place.
It's a terrible spot, really. Hooghart, you can show the people what our camp looks like. It's a big operation, but it's so worth it. Okay, Andy, I've not practiced this, I've not prepared. As you guys can see, I'm reading it off a phone, most of the things, off of your phone actually. And
Now people are going to think they were my questions.
well, that sucks. Why did you write your own questions?
I didn't.
He didn't. I sent it to him for preparations. Okay, so Andy, camera brand, your favorite?
I use Fuji. I think I don't really get hung up on which is better. I think everyone makes awesome cameras.
Good.
Doing this, I get to see so many cameras, and no one makes bad cameras, but
That's
I
good.
personally use Fuji.
Tripods, important, not important?
Important for a lot of work, but probably less important than they used to be with how good IBIS now is and how good high ISO images are now. But still, if you're doing a lot of the stuff that we're doing, where we're doing half-second exposures, yeah, essential.
Important. Favorite continent?
I can't answer that. There's. I mean, I love being here in Namibia, but I've seen so little of Africa.
That's true. It's
I've
true.
seen
We'll
some
get you there. We'll get
Great
you
places
there.
in South America, but yeah,
The world. The
all
one.
of it. It's just all good.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Gin and tonic or beer?
I do like gin and tonic, but it doesn't like me anymore. Now I'm getting a bit older. Alcohol tends to have I get very silly, so beer is safer.
Beer is safer, okay. What else is there? Hougaard, any questions? I think that's it.
Photoshop or Lightroom?
Photoshop or Lightroom?
Lightroom.
Have you used any of the AI editing software that comes now? It comes with Adobe. Have you used any of it?
I played around experimenting with the generative AI the other day. It's a bit scary, but I think fundamentally, photography is about the experience, and as long as there are people who want to come and go out and take photographs and stand in beautiful places at a beautiful
Yes.
time of the day, then that's always going to be there. And generative AI, stuff like that, it's a different thing. It doesn't really have much to do with what we're doing here, but
Great.
yes.
Who is the trick question? I'm going to catch you out with this one. Who's the best cook on the trip?
It has to be Simon.
It's Simon. Who's the best driver on the trip?
It has to be Andre.
He's in my car, so he knows what's best for him. And that's it.
Thank
you, Andy.
Do we shake hands now? It'd be a bit
Yes.
weird.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
This is, we haven't thought of a name of this yet. We're calling it Photo Talks with Yandre. So we'll leave it up to the viewers to give us some better ideas. But for now, it's Photo Talks with Yandre. Thank you, Andy, and hope to see you here again soon.
You don't have to hope. You know you will.
Guaranteed, yeah, next year and the year after.